Welcome to our end of week news bulletin. I am Sergeant Doreen Kerubo. The KDF Weekly Bulletin is a show to keep you updated on events undertaken by the Ministry of Defense over the week. In today's bulletin, reopening of the 3 border points between Kenya and Somalia. Honorable Aden Duale defends the Ministry of Defense budgetary allocation. New East African Regional Force Commander assumes office. Inauguration of the Military Veterans Advisory Committee. Military Wives Association of Kenya to construct a special needs school. And in sports, Isiolo clinches the title for the Chief of Defense Forces football tournament. Honorable Aden Duale, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, has reaffirmed the imminent need to reopen the Kenya-Somalia border at 3 strategic border points in order to ease the movement of people and goods. This is intended to boost trade and enhance positive relationships along the common border. The CS led a high-level meeting between Somalia government delegation aimed at establishing modalities to reopen the border that has been closed for the last 10 years.
Speaking during the meeting, the Cabinet Secretary said that the closure of some of the border points was because they used for smuggling contraband, narcotics, and illegal migrants. He noted that the Somalian neighbor to Kenya is strategic and important both in the fight against the common enemy of terrorism and violent extremism, as well as a key business partner in the region. He explained that this is important since the planned drawdown on the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia by the troops contributing countries was at an advanced stage. His sentiments were echoed by the CS for Interior and National Administration, Professor Kithure Kindiki, who said that the plans are at an advanced stage to reopen the borders in the next 90 days.
Honorable Aden Duale, Cabinet Secretary for Defense, hosted the Minister for Defense from the Federal Government of Somalia, His Excellency Abdul Kadir Noor, who paid him a courtesy call at the Defense Headquarters here in Nairobi. In his engagement with the Federal Government of Somalia Defense Minister, Honorable Duale affirmed the commitment of the Kenya Defense Forces to finding lasting peace and countering terrorism in Somalia and the entire Horn of Africa. He revealed that efforts are at an advanced stage to have a robust defense agreement between the government of Kenya and the federal government of Somalia to enable joint fight against terrorism, violent extremism, sharing intelligence, and ensure maritime security between their common borders. Honorable Aden Duale, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, has called on Parliament support for the provision of adequate budgetary allocation to the ministry. These, he said, will facilitate the ministry's ongoing expansion and modernization efforts to enhance the force posture of the Kenya Defense Forces. The CS made the appeal when he appeared before the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee to defend the Ministry of Defense budget for the financial year 2023-2024. In his appeal to the Parliamentary Committee, Honorable Duale implored the lawmakers to provide the necessary funding to enable the Kenya Defense Forces recruitment before the end of 2023, an exercise that has not been done for the last 2 years owing to budgetary constraints. The CS told the committee chaired by Belgut Member of Parliament, Honorable Nelson Koech, that the Kenya Defense Forces has continued to undertake its core mandate within its budget and at the same time collaborated with other agencies whenever called upon. He said the ministry has a tradition of being cost-effective and doing projects within the shortest time possible and remains committed to undertaking government projects in support of civil authorities. In other news, the new East African Community Regional Force Commander, Major General Alfaxad Muthuri Kiugu, has assumed office at Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In his address, the force commander noted that the regional force has achieved significant milestones since the deployment in November 2022, including ensuring the withdrawal of M23 from previous occupied spaces and other tasks such as the protection of civilians and humanitarian support in the contingent's areas of operation.
Speaking during the takeover event, Major General Kiugu asked the contingents to adhere to the status of force agreement and rules of engagement in the operations. He advised them to keep reviewing tactics in conformity with the mission-changing dynamics so as to remain effective in the ongoing peace and stability efforts. The commander encouraged the contingent commanders to share their experiences for the benefits and success of the regional force.
Moving on, Honorable Aden Duale, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, has affirmed his commitment to promote the plight of military veterans with a view of ensuring they live honorable lives after retiring from the service. Honorable Duale was speaking at the inauguration of the first Military Veterans Advisory Committee at the Defense Headquarters in Nairobi, where he pledged his unwavering support and commitment to ensuring the Kenya Defense Forces retirees live in dignity in their sunset years. The 10-member committee, comprising of both officers and service members, was gazetted on the 1st of April 2023 and is legally mandated to spearhead welfare issues of the military veterans.
The committee was gazetted on the 1st of April 2023 and they joined the list of the existing welfare cluster establishment within and outside KDF structure, complementing the immediate former CDF vision of strengthening a soldier-centric welfare to ensure operational effectiveness.
The CS Defense urged the Military Veterans Advisory Committee members to exercise their responsibilities selflessly and diligently. This, he said, will ensure the fulfillment of the Veterans Act principles, objectives, and the attendant purposes aimed at promoting the welfare of military veterans. He noted that the military men and women dedicate their lives in serving the country, yet some of the gallant sons and daughters of Kenya have been disappearing into oblivion. This is attributed to lack of structures that will comprehensively cater for all the welfare needs of retired Kenya Defense Forces personnel.
You, being the first advisory committee of the military veterans, have a huge responsibility of setting a firm foundation with sound structures on which the future of military veterans lie. I promise you my support and that of the entire KDF leadership as you navigate through this assignment.
Mr. Patrick Mariru, the Principal Secretary for Defense, has reiterated the commitment of the ministry to have a robust defense civilian service policy for the realization of an integrated workforce. The PA said efforts are at an advanced stage to have the policy in place, saying that the team tasked with developing the document has adequately benchmarked locally and is exploring what other jurisdictions are doing. Mr. Mariru made the remarks at the Defense Headquarters when he opened a 3-day workshop between the Ministry of Defense heads of department and the officials from the Kenya United States Liaison Office. The Director of Human Resource Management and Development, Dr. Lilian Zavi, who is the convener of the workshop, said the policy aims at attracting, retaining and boosting the morale of the civilian staff in the ministry. This is in addition to establishing a clear career progression path. The workshop is a follow-up engagement between the Ministry of Defense and KUSLO on how to improve on the proposed policy document, following a similar engagement in February this year. Now to matters environmental conservation. Kenya Defense Forces soldiers operating under Operation Maliza Uhalifu in the North Rift were involved in a tree planting exercise at Gadhanji Primary School in Laikipia County. The tree planting exercise saw over 950 assorted seedlings planted at the school compound and was conducted in conjunction with the national government administration officers, together with the parents, teachers and pupils of the school. The tree planting initiative is in line with the Commander-in-Chief's National Tree Restoration Campaign, dubbed National Program for Accelerated Forestry and Rangelands Restoration, aimed at mitigating the devastating effects of climate change. In other news, the Military Wives Association of Kenya held a fundraising breakfast towards the proposed construction of a Kenya Defense Forces Special Needs School. The proposed school project falls under the Military Wives Association of Kenya educational pillar, which culminates in creating holistic Kenya Defense Forces families. The Military Wives Association of Kenya will hold a marathon drive on the 18th of June 2023 at the Ulinzi Sports Complex, Lang'ata in Nairobi to further raise the funds. Take a look.
Speaking at the fundraising ceremony, the outgoing Military Wives Association of Kenya chairperson, Mrs. Tabitha Kibochi, expressed her passion for family. She stated that the Military Wives Association, also known as MWAC, was founded on the unity of purpose as a vehicle to support Kenya Defense Forces families. Mrs. Kibochi urged the invited guests to join hands with MWAC to realize the dream of working far together in creating holistic Kenya Defense Forces families. The former Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Ambassador Rachel Omamo, who was present during the fundraiser, expressed her pride in MWAC and the entire Kenya Defense Forces. Ambassador Omamo thanked MWAC for prioritizing humanity of soldiers and their families. Assistant Chief of Defense Forces Personnel and Logistics, Major General David Keter, on his part acknowledged the fact that KDF lacks facilities for special needs children. He therefore justified that the proposed special needs school will fill the existing gap.
The Military Wives Association of Kenya partnered with the Kenya Navy Hospital and Bethany Kids to undertake reassessment and rehabilitation of supportive aids equipment issued to differently abled children of the Kenya Navy service personnel at the Kenya Navy base Mtongwe in Mombasa. The team conducted physiotherapy exercises to identify the abilities and disabilities of the disabled children and assess their condition. They also fitted and replaced worn-out wheelchairs. Speaking during the event, the officer in charge of physiotherapy at the Kenya Navy Hospital, Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Wamaitha, said that the wheelchairs will greatly improve the mobility and quality of life for the children who would otherwise be unable to move around independently. She congratulated the team for working shoulder to shoulder to provide effective and efficient services to the differently abled children. The Alumni Association of Moi Forces Academy interacted with pupils of Moi Forces Academy during a mentorship program at the primary school at Moi Air Base here in Nairobi. The alumni held discussion with the pupils on various topics including academic excellence, goal setting, reproductive health and HIV/AIDS, career choice, drug addiction, and transitioning to adulthood. The mentorship program was aimed at enhancing positive character, discipline, and communication skills, as well as building confidence among the pupils.
Speaking during the event, Captain Anastasia Mungai, the Staff Officer 2, Education Office, Kenya Air Force, appreciated the alumni for reaching out to the pupils. She said that the visit was a blessing to the Moi Forces Academy, acknowledging that they have helped the school in so many ways. During the mentorship event, trees donated by Family Bank Kariobangi branch were planted at the school. This preceded a football match where the Moi Forces Academy pupils beat the alumni team with a score 1-0. A tug-of-war game saw alumni win against the school teachers.
Moving on, the Deputy Commander Kenya Navy, Brigadier Yahya Abdi, hosted the Defense Advisor of India to Kenya, Captain Velagada Shirdikant, at the Kenya Navy headquarters in Mutongwe, Mombasa. Brigadier Abdi and Captain Velagada Shirdikant discussed potential areas of collaboration between the Kenya Navy and the Indian Navy to promote bilateral and military cooperation. The visit highlights India's commitment to promoting maritime security in the Indian Ocean region and reinforces the existing bonds of cooperation in maritime security between the two navies. And in other bilateral engagements, Honorable Aden Duale, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, hosted the Australian High Commissioner to Kenya, His Excellency Mr. Luke Williams, and the incoming Eastern Africa Standby Force Director, Brigadier Paul Njema. The two paid the CS a courtesy call at the Defense Headquarters here in Nairobi. While engaging with the Australian High Commissioner, Honorable Duale noted that Kenya and Australia enjoy cordial bilateral relations dating back to pre-independence and have since worked together in various sectors, including counter-terrorism, piracy, and food security, among other areas. The discussion with the East African Standby Force Director touched on the preparedness of the force to execute its mandate of enhancing peace and security in the region. Eastern Africa Standby Force is one of the multi-dimensional forces of the African Standby Force that comprises of the military, police, and civilian component. Kenya Defence Forces troops, as part of the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, completed a 4-day renovation project of the Doble airstrip in southern Somalia. The airstrip plays a crucial role in facilitating transportation and connectivity in the region. During the restoration exercise, the Kenya Defence Forces engineers worked on the expansion and clearance of the airstrip to ensure an unobstructed view for the airport's operations. Prior to the renovation, the airstrip had suffered considerable erosion due to the heavy rainfall, impeding the safe landing and takeoff of aircraft. This deteriorating condition not only posed a risk to the aviation, but also caused damage to several aircraft, rendering the airstrip less useful. Kenya Defence Forces Isiolo team emerged top to clinch the title of the Chief of the Defence Forces Football Tournament 2023, held at the 81 Tank Battalion in Lanet, Nakuru County. This was a highly competitive tournament that saw Isiolo and Mutongwe teams go head-to-head, with each putting its best foot forward to hook the league's title under their belt. The final whistle went out with 1-0 score that saw Isiolo crowned the champions.
Speaking on behalf of the Chief of Defence Forces, General Francis Ogola, Commandant Kenya Military Academy, Major General Fatma Ahmed, lauded the winners and all the 17 teams that participated in the tournament, which has been running for the past 3 weeks. The Commandant emphasized that such games encourage unity and esprit de corps among service personnel. As said by the Commander, Ahmad Brigade, who is also the chairman of the Defence Forces Football Association, Brigadier Jeremiah Marocco, the tournament was aimed at identifying the best players who will join Ulinzi football clubs.
Elsewhere, Colonel Stanley Kivuva, Major Henry Cheserek, and Lieutenant Colonel George Katumpe were crowned first, second, and third place respectively, following the Kenya Defence Forces Squash Indoor Game Tournament. The sport event was presided over by the Deputy Army Commander, Major General David Tarus, at the Defence Headquarters in Nairobi. The 3-week tournament saw the 3 players cut above the rest in a competition which attracted participants drawn from the 3 services of the Kenya Defence Forces personnel, as well as civilian staff of the Ministry of Defence. Kenya Defence Forces troops serving under the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia from the Mechanized Infantry Battalion, led by their commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Lovega, participated in a friendly football tournament against Danab Special Forces at Kismayo in Somalia. The tournament is aimed at fostering teamwork, physical fitness, and camaraderie among the Somali Special Forces and the Kenya Defence Forces soldiers in the mission area. It also served as a team building and cohesion amongst the troops by setting conditions for synergy in conducting of joint operations and training. Thank you for watching. We look forward to your feedback via our official social media handles and your viewership next Friday for the KDF Weekly Bulletin. My name is Sergeant Doreen Kerubu. Goodbye.